Do you want free market research? Or are you searching for a new location to open up your business? We're doing a deep dive with NotebookLM. Let's go. Today, we're using our example company, Meridian Attitudes Coffee, and we're doing a deep dive into market research for them. Meridian is experiencing a unique and interesting situation. They are facing increasing competition, so they need more market research about what is happening in the Toronto market. And I'll show you all of the different ways in which you can research your market, your competitors, and even locations for businesses. So let's say Meridian has 2 locations and they're going to be looking for a third, but they're noticing increasing competition. Many coffee shops opening up around the corner. What do? They can turn to the AI automations that are within NotebookLM to give them a better view as to what's happening in the Toronto market. I've gone in and done a preliminary web search and added 31 sources from that initial search that asks about artisanal coffee shops within the Greater Toronto area. And I've generated some initial reports. I've said create an overview of the competitive landscape. Your objective is to build a hyper-focused, one-page competitive positioning summary for the Meridian Attitudes Coffee Company to identify what messaging territories are currently occupied by their top 3 rivals, where the market is oversaturated, and to look for gaps it can exploit. So NotebookLM has gone ahead and it's delved into kind of local articles about artisanal coffee and reviews of coffee shops, and it's come back with who the core competitors are. And it starts focusing around the concept of that there's this celestial urban kind of take a pause ritual around coffee. And if we capture that market, Meridian will do better. Okay. What I've also done is created a PowerPoint as well. And you can see the level of detail in this PowerPoint deck. Okay. It's taken our resources. It's taken some brand information that I provided to it, and it's given its suggestions in terms of what should be focused on. So it shows where the competitors are and where Meridian can exploit those gaps in the market. Even suggests a time as to when people might come in for coffee, and that would Meridian can capture that. One of the other features that I wanted to show you is there's a whole video feature. So you can do a video summary, of course. NotebookLM is amazing. It can hold up to 500 sources. So those can be internet resources. They can be articles. You can do all sorts of different styles of research. I wanted to show you how it handled market research. So it makes a distinction here within the video, the difference between the corporate kind of hustle culture of coffee shop and kind of the more calming moment coffee shop. Now, I've clicked on the strategic market entry roadmap, which was one of the options that NotebookLM suggested. So a lot of the time, once you put sources in, NotebookLM kind of gives you different options that it sees for generating research. And in this case, it's come back with a SWOT analysis: strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats for our core 10 competitors. And it's interesting is these are there. It's got it bang on because it's using uh, information only from these sources. And I know that these sources are reliable information on what's happening in terms of Toronto coffee shops. All right. And one of the things that it suggests is to take a look at a couple of different areas. One of the areas it says is take a look at the financial district. The other one is take a look at the Junction, which is a neighborhood in the West End. You can go in and create all sorts of different styles of reports. Okay, so I've added in some other notions here where I wanted to ask about store layout, packaging, pricing, and locations as well for Toronto area. Okay, so this will give us a more comprehensive report. Okay, we'll let that generate and come back to it. But first, what I'd like to do is take a look at some of the other features that are available. Now, you've probably heard of the audio overview. So if you want to add a lot of sources into Notebook, you can go in and have it give you almost a podcast that you can interact with. But there are some other lesser known features that I want to show you that help out immensely when you're going in and taking a look at the competitive landscape. Okay, so I've generated a mind map and also an infographic. Right? And I'm also going to generate a detailed slide deck as well. Rather than reading all of these different sources, let's take a look at what our mind map says about what specialized cafe experiences are out there in the digital nomad and freelancer situation or cultural and artistic retreat. So it shows us who are the competitors that fit into these different categories, right? Which is very, very helpful from a market research point of view. It allows us to then kind of have the words to understand who we're competing against and where we're going to position ourselves against both of these kind of categories. So what we want to do is switch and say our core narrative is this idea of celestial urban antidote, right? You can still get your coffee and it is artisanal, but you don't need to wait there forever for it. Okay. And it even talks about our visual identity. What's amazing is NotebookLM, you kind of had this whole encapsulation of that information, right? And one ingredient builds on the other. So in this case, the infographic isn't necessarily as helpful, but it can be very, very helpful for your business. But it did make recommendations on what the packaging might look like, which is different from our current packaging. So Notebook LM is kind of filled with surprises. Okay, now I've clicked on as well the data table. This one is breaking down our different competitors, right? And it gives us a list that we can then export to a spreadsheet, right? And then that can be added to if you've got a business plan, or possibly you want to take that, massage it in a spreadsheet, and then re-import it into a PowerPoint for an investor presentation. Okay, so you can really quickly do that. You just click on the three dots in the top right-hand corner, and you can export any of these reports as either a Google Doc or a Google Sheet, and you can take it from there. Great. Now, I wanted to show you one of the other fun features here. Once you start getting all of these particular resources, it's going to be slightly difficult to keep track of them. So that label with the star on it is an auto labeler, and it goes through and it took those 31 resources and put them into 4 clean categories. Now, I want to show you next, I want to perform another internet search. So remember earlier on, we were talking about where we would position what location we would be looking at for the next coffee shop. So one of the suggestions was the Junction neighborhood. So I do a search on that, right? Get a sense for who is currently in that neighborhood. And one of the ways you can kind of filter that is say, which ones are garnering, which ones are the most noteworthy as far as the blogs are concerned. We've added those in. Okay, we scroll down to the bottom and we say add these resources in, and we can add those and have them auto labeled. Let's go into it's actually difficult to do research on where you would place a new business location, but let's have NotebookLM surprise us. Okay, so I've asked, given there are a lot of popular coffee shops within the Junction neighborhood of Toronto, what areas are the best to get the most foot traffic? Okay, and it goes in, takes a look at our sources, and gives us some suggestions. Again, it is only using the context that we're giving it. And these are sources that I vetted. And it's making some actually really interesting suggestions. In the West End, Dundas Street West, the Junction Triangle, either on Sterling Road or Wallace, or on Annette Street. These are all really valid suggestions, right? One of them is close to the Museum of Contemporary Art, where folks might be interested in having an artisanal coffee. Now, here's one of the other PowerPoints that I created that focus in just on the Toronto market and the competitive landscape. Right? So it makes the distinction between the hustle and the daily grind, the corporate anchor, the clinical micro roaster, and the avant-garde independent. Okay? And it shows each one more of, a coffee mill. And the second one is more of an artisanal experience. The third one doesn't want digital nomads, only a coffee experience. So then it goes in and gives a detailed breakdown of who fits in each of these categories, which competitors, and where Meridian can excel. Okay, so there we go. So we want to create an accessible and mindful space, right? And it's even come up with our tagline here, the high-rise antidote, right? So there are incredible insights that NotebookLM is serving up here, and it gives a lot of business insight, even some insight into the packaging. Now, if we've got certain types of packaging and we like that and we feel it's working, great. But here, NotebookLM is kind of suggesting a strategic shift as well. You can take any of these documents here and go in and use AI and Gemini to revise those, with NotebookLM and make the tweaks that are necessary. And of course, download it as a PowerPoint or PDF. This is Frank from Obelisk. Enjoy your free market research with NotebookLM. Get your copy of the AI Automation Handbook. Click the link in the description below.